Now, you've all heard the chatter among the political class. They're falling all over themselves, saying this race is over. Well, I have news for all of them. New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last.
Very convincing message from a person who probably doesn't even remember why she's running for president and has never even thought that she even had a chance at making it. And really, here's the thing. When you're a Republican candidate that is only financed by Democrats, only the favorite of Democrat media operatives, and really only made possible by Democrats, that's a real problem. But when you couple that with the fact that it looks like the only people actually voting for you are also Democrats, that is a message. That is not just a problem. That is a massive red flag. And the only solution to this problem is our realization that the presidential campaign of Nikki Haley is without a doubt over. I mean, it is absolutely over. No one should be taking this at all seriously. And she knows it. She knows it. And I've said this over and over again and on the span of a few videos now at least. But my belief is that her only real purpose for being there is sabotage. Sabotage and damage Donald Trump in any way that she possibly can. But I honestly can't really totally figure out why. But except for financial, I guess. But, why doesn't really matter when even the left-wing media is accidentally admitting that something very, very strange is happening here.
Take a look at the numbers. Among Trump voters, 70% of them, according to our exit polls, are registered Republicans. Donald Trump, his support, 27% of his voters are registered undeclareds or independents. 3% were unregistered before today. Look at how that compares with Nikki Haley. It's a complete reversal. It's an alternate universe. Among Haley voters, 70% are registered undeclareds. Only 27% are registered Republicans.
We asked folks coming into the polls, do you identify as a Republican? Do you identify as a Democrat? Or do you identify as an independent? And here's what we found in this exit poll so far. And I think this jumps right out at you. A minority of voters in this first wave of the exit poll in the Republican primary identify as Republicans. A majority, 53%, identify as either independents, 45%, or, and this is a high number historically, 8% identify as Democrats. For some context here, in 2016, the last competitive Republican presidential primary in New Hampshire, the electorate was 55% Republican. It was 42% independent, and it was 3% Democratic. So in this initial wave, you're seeing some significant differences from 2016.
Yeah, I mean, that's just amazing stuff. I mean, what do you even say about that, guys? Let me know your take in the comments. Do you think that Nikki Haley really believes that it's a good thing, that the only people funding, the only people supporting, the only people really voting for her even are Democrats? That has got to be the strangest feeling ever. That is not a good sign. But I would bet you that she's convinced herself that this experiment is just some sort of like true testament to the bipartisanship, how bipartisanship can really work. It's all it is probably the real proof of a father's unending love for his son. I'm sorry, I got my Democrat talking points confused. But anyway, whatever nonsense these people believe, it's nonsense. I mean, it's just insane. The only bipartisan thing happening here is Nikki Haley pretending to be a Republican while she does the very, very bidding of the Joe Biden campaign. Because while they campaign, if you can even call it that, Trump seems to basically have no choice but to spend money, spend effort, and spend his attention on campaigning against Nikki Haley. I mean, there's that, and I guess the other bipartisan thing happening, Democrats really are turning out to vote for Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley.
And why did you vote for Nikki Haley?
It's a vote against Trump. I think it would be better to have her against Biden in the elections than it would be Trump and her.
Do you consider yourself generally independent, Republican, or Democrat?
Democrat.
So when you undeclared, you voted for Nikki Haley. If it was Nikki Haley against Joe Biden in a general election, who are you voting for?
Joe Biden.
I mean, remember, the media at large will tell you that this isn't even happening. They'll tell you that this can't happen. They keep quoting New Hampshire officials about the cutoff for party redesignation or designation being in October. But I think they underestimate the average liberal's dedication to making a mockery of the democratic process.
Christian, who did you vote for and why?
Yeah, so thank you. I voted for Nikki Haley, and it was certainly a strategic vote. I think the DNC is fairly resolute in their nomination for Joe Biden. And while I wouldn't vote for her in a general election, particularly on our differences with climate change solution, a woman's right to bodily autonomy, or incarceration rates, I think a vote for Nikki Haley helps diminish Trump's influence in the RNC and their nomination, but is also a vote towards democracy.
And Christian is emblematic of so many conversations that I've had here throughout the day.
A strategic vote to diminish Trump's influence, says the most eloquent Biden supporter I think that I've ever seen. And still, there could be thousands and thousands of similar statements and similar clips, and still the left will gaslight you and tell you that it's just not happening, it's just not possible. Or, it's basically their same stance as they have on voter fraud. Yeah, it happens, but it's so rare, it's so minor that there's not really even a point in talking about it. But it is happening. So there is a point. And really, Nikki Haley should see this, and she should be disgusted. She should be embarrassed by the way that she's literally allowing herself to be used. That she should be so embarrassed that she just calls it and gets the hell out of the race. Don't even hold a press conference. Just go away. Actually, no. Do hold a press conference and give the greatest endorsement of Trump that you could possibly conjure up, because that would be fantastic to watch the brains of New Hampshire strategic voters just completely explode. That's what you should do. That's exactly what you should do. But, I've said it before. But if I was Trump, I would just forget all about Nikki Haley, forget she exists, and just run as if you're the presumptive nominee. The RNC has already floated the idea of naming him presumptive nominee. And even the rhinos in that organization want to ignore Nikki Haley. But Trump, for whatever reason, and I think he's got good reasons, I think it's a good thing, Trump said, no, we're not going to do like that. We're not going to play like Democrats.
Over a draft resolution that started circulating within the RNC that would make Donald Trump the party's 2024 presumptive nominee, after only Iowa and New Hampshire held presidential nominating contests with more than 4 dozen to go.
We've got to let it play itself out. I just think it's overstepping our bounds to declare a presumptive nominee after only 2 states. RNC
Committeewoman Juliana Bergeron says if she had to vote on the proposal, hers would be a hard no.
I think it sounds more like stealing the election than a resolution. And I certainly won't vote for it, and I don't think anybody here in New Hampshire is going to vote for it. Why do we waste our time having these primaries if this can happen?
Political analysts are calling it an unusually blatant move that doesn't send a good message to voters.
And it says, your vote really doesn't matter because we elites already think that Donald Trump should be the nominee based on just 2 contests.
And Nikki Haley is still in this race on the trail in South Carolina, her home state, where Trump has led in the polls. Her campaign released a statement when the proposal surfaced, saying in part, quote, if Ronna McDaniel wants to be helpful, she can organize a debate in South Carolina, unless she's also worried that Trump can't handle being on the stage for 90 minutes with Nikki Haley.
And the former president came out on Truth Social earlier tonight saying while he greatly appreciated the thought, he thinks they should do this at the ballot box, quote, the old-fashioned way. In the studio, Marissa Tansino, WMUR News 9.
Yeah, good for Trump. He is absolutely 100% right. It should be handled at the ballot box. All elections, by the way, should be handled at the ballot box. I don't know if everyone's got that message, but this will be handled at the ballot box. And I don't think that Trump should be given the nomination. I think he should just assume that he has it and focus his attention to Joe Biden. Even the HMFIC rhino herself agrees.
Looking at the math and the path going forward, and I don't see it for Nikki Haley. I think she's run a great campaign, but I do think there is a message that's coming out from the voters, which is very clear. We need to unite around our eventual nominee, which is going to be Donald Trump, and we need to make sure we beat Joe Biden. It is 10 months away till the November election, and we can't wait any longer to put our foot on the gas, to beat the worst president, to beat a president that's kept our borders open, allowed fentanyl to pour through, allowed inflation to go rampant. He is hurting the American people, and we need to do everything we can to unite so that we can defeat him.
Yeah, I mean, here's the sad thing, man. Here is exactly where we're at. Every Republican on the planet could beg Nikki Haley to stop. Her family could beg her to stop. Russia could promise to leave Ukraine. And still, as long as the Democrat cash is flowing and people keep pretending that they actually want to see her become president, she's going to keep playing this part, you know. And that's just sad. I mean, it's shameful. I used to really, really respect Nikki Haley. She's done some good things in her career, but it's shameful. I mean, what needs to happen is a very, very strong, impossible to misunderstand message needs to be sent to Nikki Haley in the South Carolina primary. If Donald Trump landslides Nikki Haley, which I think he can, and I think he will, maybe she gets that message. I don't know. That's just my take, guys. Do you think she gets that message? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, guys, this is going to be a big year for conservative voices. So please help us to continue to grow. Really appreciate the support we've all been enjoying so far. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. And I'll see you in the next one.